Let me give you some tips and tricks on how to increase your damage and weapon fighting sim. Hey, you little Levians, it's Stitch Critter. Hopefully you're having a great day. I'm having a great day. We're back today in Weapon Fighting Simulator because I'm going to be going over how to increase your damage, not only as a pay-to-win player, but as a free-to-play player, having played both extensively for several hundreds of hours at this point. So if you have not already, please make sure you smash the like button, do the same subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it a lot. Let's get right into the video. Now, first things first, I'm going to get a lot of people going, it's really easy to increase your damage. You just get better weapons and spells. That is a quarter of what you need to do. That is a mere glimpse of how several of the players are getting to top of the leaderboards, things like that, or even just improving on their own momentum through zones and their ability to work through zones. Now, I am by no means the best of the best. I will never claim to be. However, talking with the community, working with the community, this is kind of a bunch of stuff they have come up with, and I know there's several people that aren't necessarily on Discord that I do want to give this insight to. Now, of course, getting better weapons and getting better spells will always help improve your damage. That is the first number one thing. Yes, new zones come out, new spells come out, new weapons come out. Yes, you are absolutely correct. However, let's talk about the ways that we can increase our damage up to 3 to 4 times that amount, other than just upgrading all of our weapons. The first way we are going to talk about is spells. Let's go ahead and talk about our active spells. So the active spells that you use, depending on what class you play, whether you be a weapon caster or a spell caster, which if you don't know what the difference the two of them are, it's weapon caster is you focus your spell damage to your weapons, or your spells are more focused to your weapon damage. That's what a weapon caster means. A spell caster means you're more focused on your spell damage. Your weapons are just kind of there to add something extra. So that is the thing you need to focus on, is where am I more or less leaning to with what I'm doing. Now with that in mind, let's take a look at one of my spells. I am a weapon caster, which means I'm going to be taking stuff that increases the amount of damage that my enemies take, whether it be by weapons or just in general. So Fallen Swords does that. Enemies take 10% increased damage for 15 seconds. That is awesome. That is something I really want. The next thing to look at with each of these active spell slots that I'm using is you're going to see that they have spell passives, so to speak, or attributes. This is things that you can get if you go over to World 8 or the spell library. This is stuff you can add on there. Several of these, say if you're a weapon caster like I am, I want cooldown on my active spells, and a few of them I want healing on. And you're like, why is that? And I'll kind of explain why that is, at least for weapon casters. Now, I am going to be talking about weapon and spellcasters. I am not as proficient with spellcasters, so I am sorry if I get some stuff wrong. Also, these abilities change over time and with updates. We get newer, we get better stuff that's better, so please keep in mind that some of this data may get a little bit out of date, and I'm sorry. But I have taken the time to go and get buffs. So these spells, what you're going to want to put on these, whether you are a weapon caster, you're going to want decreased cooldown because you're going to want these spells going off faster and faster and faster. And healing, not necessarily on this one, but we'll go over something else that we can use here in a minute. Things like that. Now, if this was a spellcaster, they would want increased damage, crit, several different things. This is going to help increase their damage because there is some of these that you can get bonuses for. If I click down here, that you can like increase your weapon damage, increase your spell damage by stupid amounts, and you can start doing a lot of damage. Now, if you're a spellcaster, you're going to want to get these spells up as high as you can. Weapon caster with the active spells, not so much. It really does not matter because the special ability does not generally change with level. And here are another couple examples. I have Acid Flames, which increases your weapon damage by 20% for 10 seconds. We also again have Hoop Strike, and this is actually one that I'm actively working on, still upgrading. Just haven't had any luck with the other spots. Now, The second part of spells, and the second thing that help increase your damage an absolute monster amount, is using the spells that help boost your attack damage. And there's several different stages of like how stuff is categorized in the system for the game. Some of it is stacked on the same stuff, some of it's stacked on the different. And I kind of explain that here a little bit. So one of the big things is you're going to want to make sure you have stuff like, since I am a weapon caster, I have things like Fire God Blessing. That is one of the ones I still have statted out and used. I'm still working on trying to get a few other things statted ready to go, but this one is a go-to I can use, especially when I'm doing tower stuff like I am in the background. Now with these, I want stuff that increases my weapon damage. Pure and simple. I want stuff that increases my tower damage. Pure and simple. I do have others of these. They do the exact same thing. There is other versions that, you know, increase all spells everywhere, increase all weapon damage everywhere. These are going to be the better enchantments you're going to want when you are looking at this. Keep in mind, I have 4 passives, so if you only have 3, still, let's take a look at that. Even though all of this is 4%, so that is 12%, that is 16, so that makes us up to 28. And let's go ahead and include this last one. So 28 plus 38. So that puts us at 38, 42. So we have a 42% increase in damage just from these passives if I was a free-to-play player and did not have extras. That's a big increase for anyone. Ignore that. The active damage that I get from this is counted different than this. So you're going to want to make sure these are slotted out, whether you're using weapon or you're using spell. That's also how you increase your damage. It makes a big difference once you do it. I will tell you that. The next thing is using Lock Monster. Is using map control. Okay. Is using Lord Hunter. Those are going to be general things to help increase your damage for whatever situation you happen to be doing. Now, if we're going to start getting into like weapon, spellcaster variations, some stuff that I specifically use as a weapon caster, especially for tower, I use Rage Weapon, which has a uncapped potential on doing damage because basically every time I take damage, I get a buff by 55% to increase my damage. Yes, I need to get this up to max. I'm still working on it. It does take a while because it's a mythical drop. However, this is something that you start looking at the damage potential of this, especially when you get attacked for bosses, when you get attacked for tower. That is a stupid amount. So this is, again, another one of those things you need to start looking at what the synergy bonuses are. What are the differential bonuses are? Because these apply differently than other factors in the game. Say if you're using Spellcaster, they have the same thing. You get hurt, your spell damage is increased by 41%. That's a level 11. Like, we have all the things in here for that. Now, there are other types of spells and ones I really need to get working on. Unfortunately, the luck gods have decided to say no. Stuff like Spell Weapon, which your weapon damage is increased by blank percent for any spell cast, lasts up to 10 seconds, up to a certain amount of percent. And this does go up. I do use this sometimes. An example being, if I am using Rage Master, I actually have Arrow Bombs, which also does healing and has a lot of cooldown attached to it. So every 4 seconds, I get to 0.5% of my healing, and I usually will swap that out for one of my lesser damage spells. Again, this is all of these spells are synergizing together, and that increases my damage. I will let you know, my damage compared to my weapons, compared to what my spells are, all in all, between my passives, between their passive slots, and between my spell synergies, right here, the spell section is adding close to 400 to 500% of my increased damage. Not my weapons. So, kind of keep that in mind, that having that synergy, having that stuff going on, that's going to build you up. Okay? Now, the next thing to note is having the right pet. Okay? Banshees are pets. This is one thing that we have talked about so many times. So many times. Okay? All the Banshees have different abilities. And as they get tiered up to the next tier, it goes up. Increases your map damage. increases your luck, increases your tower damage. All of these help increase. So spending the time, the money, and the investment in the banshees is a big thing. All of my accounts, I invest in my banshees. My free-to-play account, my alt account that I use to help farm for XP, my main account. That is something my main account has been pushing on hard because I fell behind really badly on it and I suffered for it. So you have to work on these. This is something that is you are actively checking, trying to get tickets to get them upgraded. Now, there is another type of caster, a caster that I don't talk about because it is not free-to-play friendly, and it quite frankly is not really pay-to-win friendly either because it would cost a monster amount of money to do, and that is a banshee caster. There is a way, if you set up these banshees appropriately, I do believe it's with spells, them casting spells. There are actually our passive spells that we have, but that make these super, super OP. I'm not covering that. It is very complicated. I barely understand it myself, and if anyone wants to build that and show me, be my guest. I'm not doing it. But as we look at the skills that this lovely banshee has, that's going to lead me on to my next point. With the banshees, even if you have a tier 1 of this banshee, having the right skills on it can make a difference. It can make a huge, huge difference. Let me explain. Weapon aura. Your weapon damage is increased by 10%. Cool. Max HP aura. Your max HP is increased by 20%. That would be really good, guys. We've already talked about me having rage weapon. That automatically gives me another 20%. Weapon crit aura. Your weapons have a 5% chance to deal ×2 damage. That's probably a really good thing. All aura effects are plus 5%. Y'all seeing where this is going? Aura Master. For each type of aura the Banshee has, your weapon damage is increased by 0.5%. Are we seeing what I'm cooking here? Okay. This, your Banshee. Just the skill section alone. That's 5%. Yeah. I have, I think, in total, about a 20% damage increase just from my Banshee skills. And it's its own little tier class. It's its own little separate calculation. On top of the fact that this Banshee is increasing my tower damage by 40%. So, Banshees as well, when they are worked on really, really well, give you a really big bonus. Now, I know a lot of the stuff I talked about is very vague, and it is more of stuff to start looking into. Some of this is stuff I had to kind of figure out. Some of it is stuff I had to talk with the community about, and that helped me out a lot. Now, there is some wiggle room, I would have to say, but a lot of it, there's a certain formula, there's a certain way you do things. It does adjust with each of the updates. If you are wanting to increase your damage, those are all the things you have to do. Now, should I go weapon caster or should I go spell caster? I'm going to be very frank. If you are pay to win, you can do either or, quite frankly. If you are free to play, I'm going to recommend one over the other, and I'll explain why. I would recommend being a spellcaster. Because guess what? You can go fight bosses. You can go farm megas. I do it all the time with my free-to-play account. And honestly, she does great damage. The only time I shift her over to being a weapon caster, and I try and make her a little more versatile, whatever, is during events. So like the current event, the Halloween event that we have going on, that's giving out super weapons, a lot of them, especially also with our luck event, that's also giving out super weapons and a lot of them. Then yeah, I am looking at the damage based on what my total damage is when I attack versus what my spell damage is. Because that current account, I do believe, can use these. So those only fire every 25 minutes. Right now, it is better for free-to-play players if you are actively playing to go as a weapon caster. If we do not have a favorable event going on and you're progressing through the worlds, I would go as spellcaster. You're not going to be as outfitted as I am. A lot of this is pay to win, okay? A lot of this is pay to win. But that is my recommendation for the free-to-play players, is you do need to kind of focus more on one or the other. Now, some spells that you can always work on to help increase your damage is these zone spells. Is putting spells or passives into the lock monster. That'll always give you stuff. Going to the most advanced possible weapon or spell and putting stuff into that. That will also give you advantages. A reminder that in Infinite Mountain, this is every 12 hours. You can come back and reuse this over and over and over again. It is limited by Robux, yes, but you can still come back to it and still use it. So, plebs, that is my guide on how you do more damage in the lovely weapon fighting simulator. Hopefully this kind of helps. If you have any questions, please put them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. If not, I will see if I can get a few of the leaderboard plebs to come on in and kind of answer. Again, you can go ham on this, that I know many people do. I know many people who sell the weapon enhancements or passives, whatever, the rolling effects, sell them for jade. That is also some way the free-to-play players can make jade. Yes, this does cost chi. Right now is a beautiful event. Go use the chi. So, but plebs, thank you for making it to this part of the video. Hopefully this was helpful, and see y'all next time.